Squidge is in Japan. Squidge is in Japan. I think one of the problems with being a fan of a team in this year's Rugby World Cup is that sometimes you get caught up in actually wanting a team to win rather than wanting rugby to be magnificent, because I'm sure for most people that game between Wales and Australia was amazing. It was an amazing spectacle with loads of running rugby, incredibly tight defence, it was great as well, it was high intensity, there was drama, there was all of the things that people want from rugby, and yet at the same time I couldn't enjoy it because I was so anxious and nervous and on edge the entire time. It was stressful. When the final whistle went, there was a burst of elation, of screaming, of shouting, and then for just the foreseeable future, for a good 20 minutes, half hour, I just stood there on the spot in the stadium, just sort of trying to take it in, trying to calm down, because I was so on edge. My nerves were just shredded. It was really an occasion. There was a moment towards the end of the game in which a chorus of hymns and arias went up, and I tried to join in and I couldn't because my voice had gone. So Wales started the game in pretty much the best fashion imaginable, with a drop goal after just 36 seconds, which amazingly is only the second fastest drop goal in international rugby history. It's the fastest in the World Cup. But there was a game between Argentina and Italy in 2005 in which a drop goal was scored after 22 seconds. If you look at it, this and the Reece Patrick drop goal later on in the game are both clear signs that Warren Gatland knows his team's limitation. Wales' attack is designed to sort of do two things. It's either they score for the first 2 or 3 phases, they run some move that impressively breaks people down, or they just attritional them to death. They just work and work and work until things fall apart. They kind of don't do anything in that middle ground that teams like Scotland or Japan or, England often excel at, which is coming up with a move once players open, which is allowing players to sort of to think on their feet and to do things. Whereas either just weigh you down, a bit like Ireland do, or they just hit you right away. So Gatland knows this, he knows all his points about his attack and so on, so he decides he's not going to bother with that, we just take 3 points. And how many times do we see a team get into the opposition 22 and then once they've got past 5 phases, the opposition line is aligned, and especially if they're playing against someone as good at the breakdown as Michael Hooper or David Pocock, the ball gets turned over and they lose it, or they give away a penalty or something daft. Wales didn't do that. Wales negated this problem by just dropping goals, by just taking shots whenever they were on offer. And this gave them 6 points, which in the end was enough of a margin for them to win it. Yes, there's a chance they may have scored a try, but have you seen Wales? However, someone who hasn't seen Wales, and I think this is vital in how Australia lost the game, is Michael bloody Cheika, who said after the game in the post-match press conference he had not watched the Six Nations. Not just he hadn't got up at whatever time in the morning it would have been in Australia to watch France fumble past Italy, he hadn't watched any of Wales's games apparently, which stinks of either one of 2 things. One, Michael Cheika is the kind of twat who in school would turn up, ace an exam and say, you didn't revise for it, didn't do any work for it, when actually he did loads, and therefore perpetuates this myth that working hard isn't cool and working hard isn't important, when you know what's cool, and you know what gets you far, you know what's good? Being good at what you do, being good at things, doing well, and actually that's a really good thing. And for Michael Cheika to be continually perpetuating this myth that, oh, actually I'm a great coach because I don't work very hard, if we were trying, right, we're trying with 50 on Wales. He seems to have this attitude about him, and it just doesn't. It was like last World Cup when he said he didn't know there were bonus points in the World Cup. You're the coach of a team in the World Cup. Why did no one step in? Why didn't one of the senior players who's played in the World Cup step in and tell him? Has he never watched it? Well, apparently he hasn't watched any rugby before. There's this ridiculous thing about Michael Cheika that, you talk about him complaining about the referee and him complaining about basically bloody everything, and the fact that he's clearly got the temperament of a lion being poked very firmly with a stick. And yet, I think the thing that's most ridiculous about him is the fact he doesn't take pride in his job. He's risen to the highest possible appointment an Australian coach can get to, really, and he doesn't seem to care about anything. Yes, he cares a lot about the fact his team is losing, but he doesn't seem to put the they're working, at least not externally, he isn't showing it. He has the attitude of a year 8 who thinks it looks uncool if he shows like he's trying, and that really annoys me as someone that tries really, really bloody hard. I originally said there were 2 points to this as well, and I forgot what the second one is. Oh no, yeah, the other one is just that he's inept. Just that he's bloody terrible at his job and he isn't reading up on it. He doesn't know the high tackle protocols apparently. I don't know. Michael Cheika, people. Michael bloody Cheika. People get caught up in the fact that he looks like if Cinderella's fairy godmother had made a human being out of tubby toast. That's what Michael Cheika is what it would look like. Anyway, sorry, I've gone off on a soapbox. No one cares. But then this actually does become relevant because Australia did not have a plan to deal with Wales, and Wales have plenty of ideas to deal with Australia. Wales just pulled little plays that Gatland had come up with before. There were things they'd done to try and stop Scotland from using quick ball in previous World Cups. There were things they'd done to stop Pocock and Hooper in past autumn internationals, and Richie McCaw, similar sort of thing. And they just adapted them slightly to work with Australia. At this point, Gatland has been coaching Wales international rugby for 12 years, which is longer than anyone else. It's the longest international record out there. And that means that he has this huge playbook of just things he's done that have worked, because he is pretty much the most successful coach Wales have ever had. And you could probably work out exactly what Gatland's going to do against you if you've got the time to go through every single game and analyse all of the games he's coached Wales for. But the problem for Wales is that there's only one man out there at this World Cup who's willing to do that, and they're facing him in their last game, because that man is Felipe, one of us, Bersagian. Wales then actually closed the game down really well. They took points the only time they went off, a penalty for Patchell, and then you get to the eventual turnover by Liam Williams, you get to the volleyball moment with Thomas Williams, you get to other things involving other people that aren't called Williams. It was a really, really well-managed few minutes, and just shows Wales' temperament as much as anything else, because you imagine a few years ago, any Welsh team would have thrown that game. They would have found a way to lose it from that position, and they didn't. And that is the biggest positive for Wales going forward. It isn't the drop goals, it isn't any of that. It's the fact that they held on against the team who traditionally are their biggest bogey team. And also, if things continue to play out the way they look like they're going at the moment, Wales will avoid the All Blacks until the final. And I think a World Cup final is a completely ridiculous separate game. I'm not saying Wales will get there. I don't make any more predictions because they'll probably lose by 60 to Fiji, and then Bersagian will mastermind a glorious victory based on having watched every Wales game 16 times. Things do look good for Wales, and things look better than they perhaps suggest for Australia. Yeah, they were pushed a bit by Fiji, and yeah, they lost to Wales, but actually they showed signs that they can pull it out on more than just their one day where everything goes their way, as we saw in the Rugby Championship. We've seen Australia can actually turn up and perform. So I'll be interested to see how they go when they close out their final game against Georgia, and then that should be enough for them to qualify, should put them through, likely against England. And likewise, Wales now play Fiji, which I refuse to take as a given because I remember 2007, and I'm just prepared to be very stressed again and to most likely lose my voice somewhere over in Oita.